He should have let me bump off Harvey Dent. We'd all have been better off, wouldn't we, Harv?
Yeah, you can't defend your attempted murder by saying that everyone would be better off if you actually completed the murder itself. Today we're going to take a deep dive into my childhood with one of my favorite shows of all time, Batman the Animated Series.
You know, as a kid, I used to watch it with my father.
I'm a real lawyer, so let's react to Batman the Animated Series, the trial episode. All right, trial. The trial episode. All right, Paul Dini and Bruce W. Timm. We'll see if you can write a good courtroom episode.
Pamela Lillian Isley. District Attorney Van Dorn has asked that the maximum sentence of life imprisonment be imposed upon you.
Maximum sentence for what? In Batman the Animated Series, I don't think anyone ever actually dies. And I don't think Poison Ivy, I think this is Poison Ivy, right? So.
Call me Poison Ivy.
What is she getting the maximum sentence of life in prison for? I mean, I guess maybe attempted murder. She did try and kill a lot of people. All right. So if she was really, I don't know what the particular circumstances are here, but the district attorney has asked for the maximum sentence. I don't know that that fits with the sentencing guidelines, even though this is New York State, not actually the federal system. But I'll allow it.
However, as your apprehension came at the hands of the Batman and not a recognized agent of the law, this court has no choice.
Okay, all right, a couple of big problems here. First of all, we've talked a lot on this channel about how Batman is a vigilante, the things he's doing are illegal, it subjects him to all kinds of actual criminal penalties. Putting that aside, when Batman apprehends a wrongdoer who has also done something wrong, that doesn't mean that they don't go to jail. They can be sentenced to jail just like anyone else. The fact that a vigilante has captured them, I don't think has any actual repercussions in the actual police and judicial system itself.
This court has no choice but to return you to Arkham Asylum, where it is hoped you will complete your rehabilitation.
Okay, but what does that have to do with anything? So, if they're captured by Batman, going to Arkham Asylum is effectively the result of being found guilty of a crime. Now, Arkham Asylum, my recollection is that it's a mental institution, and if you're found not guilty by reason of insanity, which, you know, a lot of these, I guess, supervillains are, you could be sent to some sort of facility like that. But, you know, it's for an indefinite amount of time. But what the judge is saying is a non sequitur here. He's saying we can't do anything with you because you were captured by Batman, but also I'm gonna send you to this mental institution because you're not guilty by mental insanity. I don't know what's going on here. So far, this doesn't check out. You know, for a mental institute, this looks a lot like a prison. I think there's blurring some lines here between a mental institution and just a flat out supermax prison here.
Well, cheer up. Word is we're gonna throw a little party. And old Jervis here has the invitations.
I mean, I suppose it does make sense that the Mad Hatter does reside in Arkham Asylum. More so than anyone else. I have no reason to believe why all of those other criminals should be in Arkham Asylum instead of, you know, an actual prison.
Not only does Batman create these so-called super criminals, he takes it upon himself to be their judge and jury with no regard for the legal system.
Well, that's not true. Batman literally leaves the prisoners on the doorstep of the police so that the police can arrest the prisoners, and then theoretically they'll be tried by the district attorney, who, you know, once was Harvey Dent and now is Miss Van Dorn. Yeah, I don't think I agree with that. I think that's unnecessarily cynical.
It sounds like you want to put Batman on trial.
Believe me, I'd like nothing better.
Well, yeah, so look, Batman deserves to be on trial for a whole host of reasons that are apart from the fact that he's judge, jury, and executioner. He's not really any of those things. He is a vigilante and, you know, should be put on trial. But that's sort of neither here nor there.
As Gotham's new district attorney, I can't allow your pet nut to run loose in my city.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean it.
Janet, it's a war zone out there, and Batman is our best weapon.
That's
and
also
I
fair.
say he's a drug the city keeps taking to avoid facing reality. Speak of the devil.
The East Side Skulls are ready to declare war on the other gangs.
Old news. My department's already planning a sting to catch the Skull's leader.
Don't bother.
Very cute, mister.
But so, I mean, the issue with gangland violence is not that you don't know who the gang members are and just you can go arrest them, is that you have to actually have enough evidence that they have done the things that they are accused of. And so here, Batman hasn't done really much good because he's just simply captured someone that I'm sure the district attorney and the police already knew was a member of this gang system. So, yeah, Batman not doing his best here.
You want to support law and order, you take off that mask and put on a uniform.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Next time I see him, it'll be a whole different story.
Will it, though?
Hello, Bruce.
Yeah,
Janet.
of course.
I'm so glad we're able to meet on such short notice. Still, even you have to admit, Batman's come through now and then.
But look at the lunatic fringe he's created. The Joker, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and the rest. Batman's responsible for every one of them.
Is he? So, okay, is that where this episode is going? That Batman is actually responsible for creating the supervillains that he is policing as well? I mean, interesting. We'll see where that goes. I mean, that might get into issues of proximate cause versus actual cause. But that's kind of a straw man, so it'll be interesting to see what she does with that.
I'm sorry, Bruce. I won't be a minute.
Take your time.
Is that a I hate to see you go, but I love watching you leave joke? Did they shoehorn that into a kid's cartoon here? I wonder if they're being a little cheeky there, no pun intended.
Let me out! Do you hear me? Whoever you are, let me out this second!
Again, this really, really looks like a prison here, rather than any kind of institute that would actually be for psychological or psychiatric purposes.
We got some legal business to settle first.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about a trial.
Oh,
Me, the
yeah.
prosecutor, you, the defense, and your client is Batman.
Okay, you know what? I like the idea. I like the setup of this episode. Making the single-minded district attorney who actually doesn't like Batman to be forced to defend him. Though it's interesting that when these supervillains finally have the upper hand, they have Batman incapacitated, they decide to do this legal nonsense instead of, actually unmasking him and, killing him. Yeah, not a great plan from their perspective, but a great conceit for an episode. I love it.
As far as I'm concerned, you belong in here with them.
Oh.
Whatever. You've got to go through with it. It's their game and their rules.
You've said it yourself, lady. Batman made every one of us.
So, we're placing him before the bar to face our justice.
Okay.
Amusing idea, what? Kidnapping you to be Batman's attorney?
Okay, so legally speaking, putting aside the fact that this trial is completely rigged and impossible, this would be a very, very easy case for this lawyer to win, because just because someone is an actual cause doesn't mean that they are the proximate cause, the legal cause of something happening. And when you're talking about a bunch of supervillains who are, I use this term loosely, in control of their faculties, they're committing a bunch of intentional torts and a bunch of intentional crimes, so that Batman, though he might have, placed a domino or flipped a domino over in this long string of dominoes that led to the creation of these supervillains, he's not actually responsible for the things that they have done. So theoretically, this lawyer should have a pretty easy time.
Likewise, a fair and impartial jury.
Hang him!
Shoot him!
Hit him with a rock!
Okay, so I probably don't need to tell you that this jury is completely constitutionally infirm. First of all, you don't have 12 people, which is not a requirement in all states, but generally you do have 12. This is not an impartial selection of people in this area. Batman is not being tried by a selection of his peers. Under the Sixth Amendment, a jury has to be a representative cross-sample of the people in that geographical location. And not only is this petty jury, I think 6 supervillains who were there, not representative of the community at large, there was no jury panel. There was no veneer through which you could choose the members of the jury. It has to be impartial. And it doesn't mean that they can't know anything about the accused, but it does mean that they have to be able to put what they know aside. And here, they are material witnesses. They are absolutely not impartial against Batman. And so, yeah, believe it or not, a jury made up of exclusively of supervillains does not pass constitutional muster.
Judge Joker!
Yeah, so Joker as the judge, that doesn't pass constitutional muster either. He needs to be bounced for not being capable of presiding over this trial.
I was promised a chance to defend my client.
Oh, very well. Like it'll make a difference. Mr. Prosecutor, make your opening statement.
Yeah, so in California, you have a procedure through which you ask the judge to no longer preside over your trial. And sometimes you can just do it automatically. It's called 170.6ing the judge after that particular section of the California Code. You definitely want to make a 170.6 motion in this particular case.
We're all freaks and monsters. And who made us this way? Batman!
Yeah, not so much. So in law school, you spend a huge amount of time talking about the difference between actual cause and proximate cause. And in fact, often you're dealing with really dry cases. There is one particular case in law school that I think is actually really interesting that talks about this very distinction. It's called the Palsgraf case, and it involves a guy who brings some fireworks onto a train. The box of fireworks explodes, and it tips over this giant scale onto this poor woman named Palsgraf. And so the main question in that case is not whether the guy who brought the fireworks, is he responsible? But the question is the railroad at any point responsible? And I actually did an entire video called What's in the Box that talks about this very case. It's all animated, which is fitting because this is Batman the Animated Series. So if you are curious about how that case turned out and the difference between actual and proximate cause, you can check out that video.
Yo, Hat! Understand!
Yeah, right out of the jury into the witness box. That is not allowed.
Counselor.
You brainwashed and kidnapped a woman who rejected you.
Batman forced me to do it. He was going to take her away from me. I had no choice.
Yeah, that's
You could
not
have
an actual
respected her
defense.
wishes and left her alone.
I'd have killed her first! Oh, I'd like that last statement stricken from the record, please.
Record? Is someone supposed to be writing this down?
Yeah, well, someone is supposed to be writing it down. So I actually really like that cross-examination. Well, actually, so there was no direct examination. Yeah, so I guess we'll call that cross-examination. That really actually highlights the difference between actual cause and proximate cause. That, yeah, Batman played a role in it, but for the most part, it's just the Mad Hatter being the Mad Hatter. And he was committing intentional acts. So this is actually a really fun example of the distinction between the two kinds of cause.
I object to this witness. She's obviously trying to influence the judge.
Yeah, that seems improper.
What makes you say that?
But of course, the writers know that. They're making that exact joke.
If there was no Batman, there'd be no Joker, and I'd never have met my puddin'. Thank you, Batman.
So that's not damages, that's a benefit.
Puddin' here. Finked on you in hopes of getting time off.
You lousy scut-sucking creep!
The witness's excuse.
I mean, the judge probably should find her in contempt, and sentence her to jail time for assaulting him, but,
And so it's Batman's fault you lead a life of crime.
He should have let me bump off Harvey Dent. We'd all have been better off, wouldn't we, Harv?
Yeah, you can't defend your attempted murder by saying that everyone would be better off if you actually completed the murder itself. That's not an actual defense, and it's not it's not a way of actually saying that the person who stopped you from committing murder is the actual criminal. That's not a thing here.
Then it doesn't bother you when someone, let's say the judge here, ruthlessly plucks a defenseless flower from the warm, green earth.
No.
But aren't the Joker's flowers canonically, like, they shoot acid? They're made of plastic? It's kind of convenient that there's a real flower in this particular case. Real convenient there.
One by one until it's all gone, honey.
I mean, it doesn't actually change anything.
Please.
I used to believe Batman was responsible for you people. But now I see nearly everyone here would have ended up exactly the same, Batman or not.
I mean, so that's true, but I think we're still in the middle of the cross-examination here. So, you know, I know this happens on TV all the time, but you're not allowed to actually make closing arguments when you're supposed to be questioning people. That's sort of trial 101.
Oh, the gimmicks might be different, but you'd all be out there in some form or another bringing misery to Gotham. The truth is, you created him.
And of course, not for nothing, there's no bailiff here, and so the bailiff can't police the fact that she's just walking around the entire courtroom, because, you know, you're not allowed to actually enter the well without permission from the judge. I guess even in Arkham Asylum. Maybe? Maybe? I don't know.
Jury, you've heard the evidence. Consider your verdict.
So, again, in real life, this is not a close case at all. Batman is not responsible for the actions of the supervillains. He has, however, committed all kinds of other crimes, not related to these supervillains, but that's a subject for a different video.
In light of Ms. Van Dorn's stirring defense, we have no choice but to find the defendant not guilty.
Hey! Ah. Oh, cool. So this episode is a really wonderful exploration of the difference between actual cause and proximate cause. They should actually watch this in law schools to talk about the difference. This is way more interesting than being in a law school lecture.
You've proven that Batman didn't create us, that we in fact messed up our own rotten lives. And as we are so rotten, vile, and depraved, we're going to waste you anyway.
Yeah, so that's not in the federal sentencing guidelines either. But yeah, you knew that. Okay, oh, hold on. So, first of all, why does a mental institution have a electric chair? Because this is not a prison. This is not a place where people are sentenced to death. There's no reason that that should be there. Also, whether Gotham is New York or Chicago, neither New York or Illinois has had a death penalty for decades. Now, yeah, I know this takes place in the past, blah, 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 I don't care. Neither New York or Chicago, or New York City or Chicago, have the actual death penalty. So no facilities, whether they're actual prisons or not, should have an electric chair in them at all.
I see now there's a need for the things you do. But I'm still going to work toward a city that doesn't need Batman.
Me too.
Okay, fair enough. So Batman escapes and the district attorney learns that Batman is helpful. Still, Batman is a vigilante who is committing all kinds of crimes, so I'm not sure that this particular detente is actually good for the city or not. It depends on who you ask. So Batman gets a happy ending from the district attorney, but will he get a happy ending from me? Phrasing. Okay, so this episode, pros and cons. First of all, great exploration of the differences between actual and proximate cause, and that's about where the realism ends. What makes it unrealistic, completely unconstitutional jury, completely rigged from the start, and a premise that wouldn't even get past a motion to dismiss. So all in all, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give this episode a D- for realism, though an A+ in terms of just being fun to watch.
He always knew how to make an exit.
Now, Batman is a guy who knows a thing or two about comfortable underwear. After all, he wears them on the outside. Now, I don't, but I do wear Mack Weldon's incredibly comfortable boxer briefs on the inside. See? Mack Weldon is known for their insanely comfortable boxer briefs, including their new stealth boxer briefs. It's so comfortable, I wear too. Oh, these are great for everything from working out to hanging out, and it feels like nothing, like you're not wearing a second boxer brief. And if you're watching this channel, you're an adult and you probably deserve to have nice boxer briefs, and I can tell you it makes a world of difference. And I also love Mack Weldon's Radius pants, which are halfway between slacks and joggers. They are also insanely comfortable. They're for the man who can wear sweatpants, but doesn't want to. Now, if I'm not in court or on a Zoom call with a judge, I'm often wearing Mack Weldon. They focus on smart design and premium fabrics. I order in multiple sizes, have them shipped to my home because who has time to go clothes shopping, and then just return the ones that don't fit right and keep the ones that fit perfectly. And with Mack Weldon's loyalty program, you can get a discount, free shipping, and access to new products. It's automatic when you sign up and order at mackweldon.com/Legaleagle. Now, if you would like to try Mack Weldon, Legaleagles like you will get 20% off their first order just by going to mackweldon.com/Legaleagle and using the promo code Legaleagle at checkout. Or just click on the link that's on screen right now. So just click on that link to get 20% off your first order, and remember to use that promo code Legaleagle. Plus, clicking on that link really helps out this channel. And while you're at it, click on this playlist for all of my other reactions where I'll see you in court.